The alien ships appeared in Earth's sky on a Tuesday morning. They were massive, gleaming vessels that hung above the major cities like silent metal moons. Captain Lee stood in the United Earth Defense Headquarters, watching the news feeds with growing tension. His hands were clasped behind his back, his jaw tight. He had trained for many scenarios, but this was not one of them. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Council. They sent a message in perfect English, translated by their advanced computers. They wanted to meet with Earth's leaders. They said they came in peace, did not trust them. 3 days later, the meeting took place in Geneva, attended as part of the military delegation. He stood at the back of the room while politicians and scientists filled the front rows. When the alien ambassador entered, the room fell silent. Ambassador was tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. He moved with fluid grace, his four arms gesturing as he spoke. His voice was calm and measured, almost gentle. That made more suspicious. "People of Earth," began, "we welcome you to the galactic community. You have achieved basic space flight. You have split the atom. You have sent signals into the void. We heard those signals. We have come to guide you." The word guide stuck in his throat like a bone. He knew what it really meant: control. Continued speaking, explaining the rules of the galaxy. There were levels, he said, classifications. Earth was a Class 7 species, which meant primitive, young, unproven. The Council would protect Earth, but protection came with conditions. Earth could not build certain weapons. Earth could not develop faster-than-light travel without Council approval. Earth could not expand beyond its own solar system without permission. One of the diplomats, a woman from Brazil, raised her hand. "What if we refuse these terms?" Smile was thin. "Then you will not receive protection. The galaxy can be a dangerous place for unprotected worlds." The threat was clear: submit or be destroyed. The meeting lasted 6 hours. When it ended, walked out into the cold Swiss air and lit a cigarette, even though he had quit 3 years ago. His hand shook slightly as he brought it to his lips. "They're treating us like children," a voice said beside him. Turned to see Doctor, one of Earth's top engineers. She was small and fierce, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been in the technical briefing session with the aliens. "Worse than children," replied. "They're treating us like property." Nodded. "I analyzed their technology during the presentation. Their ships, their weapons, their power systems. They're advanced, yes, but not impossible, not magical. They use antimatter reactors, standard energy shields, plasma weapons. It's all technology we can understand." "Can we build it?" asked. "We already are," said quietly. "Project Phoenix, out in the asteroid belt. We've been working on it for 2 years, long before these aliens showed up. We just need time to finish it." Crushed his cigarette under his boot. "How much time?" 6 months if we had unlimited resources. 3 months if we push hard." "The Council gave us 30 days, said." Was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Then we better work fast." 2 weeks later, stood in a secret briefing room deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. Admiral Park sat at the head of the table, his weathered face grave. Around the table sat the heads of Earth's major military powers, plus key scientists and engineers. "Show them," Admiral said too. Activated a holographic display. A massive ship appeared, rotating slowly in the air above the table. It was sharp and aggressive, bristling with weapons and armor. It looked like a predator. "The UES Defiance," said. "Earth's first star destroyer. We started building it as a deep space exploration vessel, but we've converted the design. It's 70% complete. The hull is finished. The engines are functional. What we're missing are the weapon systems and the main reactor." "What makes it special?" asked a general from China. Smiled. "Everything. The aliens use antimatter for power. It's effective but dangerous and requires huge storage tanks. We found a different way. Quantum entanglement reactors. We tap into the quantum fluctuations of spacetime itself. It's cleaner, more stable, and provides 3 times the power output of their antimatter systems. That's impossible, someone muttered. The aliens think so too, replied. That's our advantage. They stopped innovating centuries ago. They rely on the same technology their ancestors used. They became comfortable, lazy. We're still hungry, still searching for better ways. Admiral stood. The Council ships are moving into patrol positions around our solar system. They're surveying our resources, cataloging our assets. In 2 weeks, they'll present us with a formal treaty. We'll be expected to sign. If we refuse, they'll use force. Then we don't give them 2 weeks, said. All eyes turned to him. We accelerate the project. We launch the Defiance in 10 days, incomplete if we must, but operational. That's a huge risk, the Admiral said. Slavery is a bigger risk, replied. There was silence around the table. Then, one by one, the leaders nodded. Do it, Admiral ordered. Captain Lee, you'll command the Defiance. Doctor, you'll serve as chief engineer. I want our best people on that ship. Volunteers only. Make sure they understand this is likely a one-way trip. Saluted, yes, sir. As the meeting ended and people filed out, caught up within the hallway. Can we really do this? He asked quietly. One ship against their entire fleet. Looked at him with fire in her eyes. Our ancestors crossed oceans in wooden boats. They flew to the moon in tin cans. They split atoms they couldn't even see. Humanity has always done the impossible. We just need to remember how. Felt something stir in his chest. Hope, maybe, or perhaps just stubbornness. Either way, it would have to be enough. Far above them, beyond Earth's atmosphere, the Council ships continued their slow patrol. They were confident, secure. They had done this 1,000 times before with 1,000 primitive species. They expected compliance. They expected fear. They were about to learn that humanity was different. In the asteroid belt, hidden inside the hollowed shell of Ceres, the Defiance waited. Workers swarmed over its hull like ants, welding, wiring, testing. The ship was waking up. Soon it would open its eyes. Soon it would show its teeth. The countdown had begun. Earth had 10 days to finish building a weapon that could challenge the stars. 10 days to prove that humanity would not kneel. 10 days to change everything. The future of the human race rested on the shoulders of engineers and soldiers who refused to accept their assigned place in the galaxy's hierarchy. They would build their destroyer. They would crew it with volunteers who valued freedom over safety. And when the Council came with their demands and their threats, they would find something waiting for them that no primitive species had ever shown before. Defiance. The inside of Ceres looked like organized chaos. Floated through the massive hollow chamber, watching hundreds of workers in spacesuits crawl over the Defiance like worker bees on a hive. Welding sparks flew in brilliant arcs. Heavy machinery moved massive components into place. The ship was coming alive. Reactor core is at 85% integration, Han reported, floating beside. The young engineer had dark circles under his eyes from 72 hours without sleep. We'll have it online in 4 days. We have 6 days until launch, said. What about weapons? That's department. She's in Section 7. Pushed off a wall and glided through the zero gravity toward Section 7. He found inside the ship's weapons bay, surrounded by holographic displays and test equipment. She was arguing with 3 other engineers. I don't care if it's never been tested at full power, she snapped. We don't have time for a testing phase. It either works or it doesn't. Doctor, one engineer protested. If the magnetic containment fails, the will tear itself apart. Then make sure the containment doesn't fail, replied. She noticed and waved him over. Captain, come see your main guns. Anchored himself to the deck and looked at the massive weapons mounted along the ship's spine. They looked like oversized rifle barrels, but he knew they were far more sophisticated. Quantum accelerated, explained. We take a tungsten rod, wrap it in a quantum field, and accelerate it to 15% light speed. At that velocity, nothing can stop it. Energy shields, useless. Armor, might as well be paper. How many shots can we fire? Asked. As many as we have ammunition. The quantum reactor provides unlimited power. The only limit is how fast the loading mechanism can work. We can fire one shot every 3 seconds. Did the math in his head. Against 15 enemy ships, that might be enough. If they were accurate, if the weapons worked as designed, if they survived long enough to fire them. Keep working, he said. We launch in 6 days no matter what. He spent the next 3 days moving through the ship, checking systems, meeting crew members, learning every detail of the vessel that would be his command. The Defiance was 800 meters long, shaped like a spear. It had armor made from carbon nanotube composites, shields powered by the quantum reactor, and enough firepower to level a city. On the 4th day, the reactor came online. Was on the bridge when it happened. The lights flickered, then steadied. A deep hum vibrated through the ship's bones. Every screen and display lit up at once. Reactor stable, announced, his voice tight with barely controlled excitement. Power output exceeding projections by 20%, all systems nominal. The bridge crew cheered, allowed himself a small smile. One major hurdle cleared. Commander Song pulled up beside him. She was his tactical officer, a woman with a mind like a computer and instincts like a predator. Captain, I've been analyzing the Council fleet movements. They're getting bolder. Yesterday they moved into Mars orbit. Today they're near Jupiter. They're closing in. How long until they reach Earth? Asked. At their current pace, 3 days. We launch in 2, said, ready or not. That night couldn't sleep. He floated in his small cabin, staring at the metal ceiling. In 48 hours, he would take an untested ship against an enemy that had controlled the galaxy for thousands of years. The smart move would be to run, to hide, to hope the Council would be merciful. But had never been good at running. A message came through on his personal comm. It was Sora, his navigation officer. Captain, you should come to the fighter bay. There's something you need to see. Made his way to the bay and found Sora standing beside a sleek fighter craft. It was small and fast, with weapons mounted on each wing. We finished the first squadron, Sora said. 20 fighters. I've been running simulations with volunteer pilots. We're good, sir, really good. Better than the Council pilots? Asked. Sora grinned. The Council uses AI-assisted systems. Their ships practically fly themselves, makes them predictable. Our pilots are fully manual. We can think, adapt, improvise. In the simulations, we beat their fighters 8 times out of 10. And the other 2 times. We died gloriously, Sora said, still grinning. Shook his head, but he was smiling. This was the kind of spirit he needed. People who saw impossible odds and laughed. On the 5th day, disaster struck. A Council scout ship detected unusual energy readings near Ceres. It moved in to investigate. Contact, announced from the bridge. Scout-class vessel closing on our position. They'll have visual confirmation in 10 minutes. His mind raced. If the scout ship reported back, the Council would know about the Defiance. They would send their entire fleet immediately. The ship wasn't ready for that. Can we run? He asked. Not without being detected, replied. Then we fight, said. Sora, take your squadron. Disable that ship before it can transmit. Yes, sir. Watched through the bridge cameras as 20 fighters launched from the Defiance. They were barely visible against the black of space, small silver darts moving in perfect formation. Sora led them like a conductor leading an orchestra. The Council scout ship didn't see them coming until it was too late. Sora's fighters hit it from 6 different angles, their kinetic weapons tearing into the ship's engines and communications array. The scout ship spun helplessly, disabled but not destroyed. Target neutralized, Sora reported. No transmissions detected. let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. "Bring it in. We'll take the crew prisoner." When the Council scouts were brought aboard the Defiance, they looked at the humans with a mixture of fear and confusion. They were small gray beings with large eyes and thin limbs. They had never been captured by a primitive species before. Lieutenant Park, the communications officer, tried to speak with them. "Why are you here?" she asked through a translation device. One of the aliens finally answered. "To catalog your resources, to mark your world for harvest. This is what the Council does. This is what we have always done." "Not anymore," said. He ordered the aliens confined to quarters, treated well but kept secure. That night called a meeting of all department heads. "The Council knows something is happening here. They'll send more ships to investigate. We launch tomorrow at dawn. Not in 2 days, tomorrow." "We're not ready," protested. "The secondary systems aren't calibrated. The shields are only at 90%. We haven't finished crew training." "We're as ready as we'll ever be," replied, "and we're out of time." He looked around the table at the faces of his crew. Engineers, soldiers, scientists, pilots. They came from every nation on Earth. Different languages, different cultures, but united by one simple idea: freedom was worth fighting for. "In 12 hours, we take the Defiance out of this asteroid," said. "We're going to fly directly to Earth and position ourselves between our planet and the Council fleet. We're going to tell them in very clear terms that they are not welcome. They will probably try to destroy us. We will probably die. But we will die free, and we will die fighting, and that matters." Nobody spoke for a long moment, then stood up. "For Earth," he said simply. One by one the others stood. "For Earth," they repeated. Felt something swell in his chest. Pride, maybe. Or perhaps just gratitude that he would face the end with people like this beside him. The next morning, the Defiance fired its engines for the first time. The quantum reactor hummed with power. The massive ship slid out of its hiding place inside Ceres and turned toward Earth. On the bridge, sat in the captain's chair and looked at the. Ahead of them he could see Earth, a blue marble hanging in the black. Beyond it he could see the Council ships, 15 warships arranged in a blockade formation. "All hands, this is the captain," said into the shipwide comm. "Battle stations. Today we show the galaxy what humanity is made of. Today we fight for our home." The Defiance accelerated toward Earth, toward battle, toward destiny. 800 people aboard, volunteers all, ready to face impossible odds. The war for Earth's freedom had begun. The Council fleet detected the Defiance when it was still 2 million kilometers from Earth. Watched the tactical display as the 15 alien warships broke formation and began moving to intercept. They moved slowly, confidently. They thought they were facing a single primitive vessel. They had no idea what was coming. "Incoming transmission," announced. "It's from the Council flagship." "Put it on screen," ordered. A face appeared on the. It was vaguely reptilian, with golden scales and cold vertical pupils. The alien wore an elaborate uniform covered in symbols of rank. "Attention, primitive vessel," the alien said. "I am War Master of the Axiom Empire, commander of this pacification fleet. You have violated Council law by constructing an unauthorized warship. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will be met with destruction." Leaned forward in his chair. "War Master, I am Captain Lee of the United Earth ship Defiance. We have violated no laws because we do not recognize your authority over humanity. You entered our solar system uninvited. You made demands of a free people. Now I'm making a demand of you. Leave, now, or we will make you leave." There was a pause, then laughed a harsh barking sound. "One ship against 15. You amuse me, primitive, but amusement will not save you. You have 30 seconds to surrender." The transmission ended. Looked at his crew. They were tense but focused, hands on their controls, ready. "All weapons charge," he ordered. "Shields to maximum. What's our tactical assessment?" Commander studied her screens. 15 ships. The flagship is twice our size. Heavy plasma cannons, energy shields, antimatter torpedoes. Standard Council configuration. They'll try to surround us, hit us from all angles at once. They expect us to run, said. What should we do instead? Smiled coldly. We charge straight at them. Crazy, muttered from the engineering station. I like it. Made his decision. Sara plot a course directly toward the flagship, full speed. We're going to split their formation. Yes, sir. Sara's fingers danced across her controls. The Defiance surged forward. Its quantum reactor poured energy into the engines, accelerating the massive ship faster than should be possible for something its size. The Council ships adjusted their formation, moving to create a kill zone in the center. Captain, said from the intelligence station, I'm picking up communications between the Council ships. They're confused. They're saying our acceleration rate is impossible. Let them be confused, replied. Confuse them more, all fighters launch. 20 fighters burst from the Defiance's hangar bay. Led by Lieutenant Shin and Sora's best pilots, they spread out in a chaotic pattern that looked random but was carefully calculated. Range to enemy fleet, asked. 500,000 kilometers in closing, replied. They're charging weapons, warned. On Earth below, millions watched the drama unfold on every screen. Admiral stood in the command center, his hands gripped tight behind his back. Around him, military leaders from every nation watched in silence. One ship was all humanity had. One ship to stand against an empire that controlled 1,000 worlds. They're going to get themselves killed, a general whispered. Maybe, Admiral replied, but they're going to make the aliens remember us. In space, the Council ships opened fire. Bright lances of plasma shot across the void, tracking toward the Defiance. Each shot carried enough energy to vaporize a mountain. Evasive maneuvers, ordered. The Defiance twisted like a living thing. The quantum reactor allowed for directional changes that ignored normal physics. The ship went left, then right, then down, moving in ways no ship should move. Plasma shots that should have hit sailed harmlessly past. Impossible, hissed from his flagship. No ship that size can maneuver like that. Return fire, commanded. Target the nearest cruiser. Weapons officer locked onto his target, firing one. The tungsten rod left the Defiance's main gun at 45,000 kilometers per second. It covered the distance to the enemy cruiser in less than 3 heartbeats. The Council ship's shields flickered, trying to stop it. They might as well have tried to stop a meteor with tissue paper. The rod punched through the shield, through the armor, through the ship's entire length. It came out the other side and kept going. The cruiser's lights went dark. It began to drift. Direct hit, shouted. Enemy shields were useless. Again ordered, keep firing. The Defiances spoke in a steady rhythm. Every 3 seconds, another tungsten rod crossed the void at relativistic speed. The Council ships scattered, trying to get out of range. But the human fighters were harassing them, forcing them to maintain formation. Led her squadron against a Council destroyer. The alien ship was 10 times the size of her fighter, but size meant nothing when speed and skill mattered more. She flew close to the destroyer's hull, too close for its big guns to track her, and put a missile straight into its engine core. Splash 1 destroyer, she reported calmly, as if she destroyed alien warships every day. Watched his fleet come apart and felt something he had not felt in 50 years of warfare: fear. These primitives were not fighting like primitives. They were fighting like demons. All ships concentrate fire on the human flagship, he ordered. Kill it now. 15 warships turned their weapons on the Defiance. The space around the human ship lit up with plasma fire, missiles, and energy beams. It was a storm of destruction that could obliterate a small moon. Shields at 60%, called out. 50%, 40. Hold course, said calmly. Sara, angle us toward the flagship. Prepare the main weapon. "Captain, if we get any closer, they'll tear us apart," warned. "Then we better shoot first," replied. The Defiance plunged into the center of the Council formation like a spear through armor. Enemy ships surrounded it on all sides. Shields flickered and died under the sustained fire. Armor plating began to glow red. "Shields down," reported. "We're taking direct hits." "Medical teams to sections 4 and 7. Medical Officer Lee's voice came over the comm. "Multiple casualties." Ignored the damage reports. He focused on the flagship ahead, growing larger in the, "Do you have a lock?" "Yes, sir." Quantum Mass driver charged and ready. "Fire," said quietly. The Defiance's main weapon was different from its. It didn't fire projectiles through space. Instead, it used quantum entanglement to make a tungsten rod appear directly at the target location. The enemy's shields had nothing to block because nothing traveled through them. The rod materialized inside the Council flagship's shield envelope, already moving at combat speed. It struck the massive ship's reactor core dead center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the flagship's entire midsection exploded in a ball of white fire. The explosion was so bright it could be seen from Earth with the naked eye. War Master had exactly enough time to realize he had made a terrible mistake before his ship tore itself apart around him. The remaining Council ships stopped firing. Their commander was dead. Their flagship was debris, and the primitive ship they had come to destroy was still fighting. "All Council vessels, this is Captain Lee," broadcast on all frequencies. "Your fleet is broken. Your commander is dead. I am giving you one chance to leave our solar system alive. Take it or join your flagship." For a long moment there was silence. Then one by one, the Council ships turned and activated their faster-than-light drives. They vanished into the void, running away at speeds that bent reality. The Defiance hung in space, battered and smoking but victorious. On Earth, millions erupted in celebration. People danced in the streets. Strangers hugged each other. The impossible had happened. On the bridge, crew sat in stunned silence. They had won. Against all logic, all odds, all reason, they had actually won. "Damage report," said quietly. His voice was shaky. "Shields offline. 40% of our armor is gone. We have hull breaches in 6 sections. 17 dead, 43 wounded." Bowed his head. 17 people who had volunteered to save humanity. 17 people who would never go home. "Mark their names," he said. "Build a memorial, they saved us all." "Captain," interrupted, "I'm receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Other species that are under Council control. They all saw what we did. They're asking the same thing. How did you do it?" Looked at Earth turning slowly in the billions of people down there, free because 800 volunteers had refused to surrender. "Tell them the truth," he said. "Tell them we fought because freedom is worth dying for. Tell them they can fight too." Pulled up data on her screens. "Captain, the Council is in chaos. Their communications networks are lighting up. They're arguing. Some want to destroy us. But others are saying we've proven that the old rules don't work anymore." Good said, "Let them argue, let them doubt, let them fear." He stood and addressed his crew. "What we did today changes everything. The galaxy watched 15 Council warships run from one human ship. Every oppressed species out there just learned that the Council can be beaten. We didn't just win a battle, we started a revolution." The crew erupted in cheers, exhausted but triumphant. Far across the galaxy, on 1,000 worlds, beings who had lived under Council rule for generations watched recordings of the battle. They saw one small ship defy an empire. They saw courage triumph over superior numbers. And they began to hope. Earth's first Star Destroyer had proven something the galaxy had forgotten. With enough courage, enough ingenuity, enough stubborn refusal to give up, even the impossible could be achieved. The Defiance had shown them the way. The victory celebrations on Earth lasted 3 days. Then reality set in. The Defiance limped back to Ceres for repairs while intelligence officers analyzed every scrap of data from the battle. What they found was not encouraging. The ships we fought were just a small patrol fleet, reported to the command staff. The Axiom Empire has hundreds of warships. When they recover from the shock, they'll come back, and next time they'll bring everything. Stood at the observation window, looking out at the damaged hull of the Defiance. Repair crews swarmed over the armor, working day and night. How long until the ship is battle-ready again? 2 weeks at minimum, said. But Captain, even fully repaired, we can't fight hundreds of ships. The quantum reactor is powerful, but we still have limits. Then we don't fight alone, Admiral said. He appeared on the video screen from Earth. Captain Lee, your victory has changed the political situation across the galaxy. We're receiving messages from dozens of species. They want to join us. They want to fight. Commander pulled up a star map. 3 species have formally requested alliance. The from the Andromeda sector, the Tor from the Outer Rim, and the Free Miners Collective. They're all Class 7 or Class 8 species, all oppressed by the Council. What can they offer? Asked. Raw materials, industrial capacity, willing soldiers, replied. They have mining operations on 50 asteroids. The Tor have shipyards. The Free Miners have experience building in space. They don't have weapons technology, but we do, finished. We can share the quantum reactor designs, help them build their own ships. Thought about it. The Council had maintained power by keeping the other species divided and weak. But if Earth shared its technology, if they united the oppressed. Do it, he ordered. Send them everything we have. Reactor designs, weapon schematics, tactical data. Let's build an alliance. The Council won't allow it, Admiral warned. They'll see it as an act of war. We're already at war, said. We just haven't admitted it yet. 3 weeks passed. The Defiance was repaired and upgraded. The hull now had additional armor. The weapons systems were refined. Most importantly, they weren't alone anymore. The first Allied ship arrived from the. It was crude and ugly compared to the Defiance, but it had a quantum reactor and. Then came 3 more ships from the Tor. Then a dozen mining vessels converted to fighters by the Free Miners. Stood on the bridge and watched the small fleet assemble. 17 ships total. Still nothing compared to the Axiom Empire's full might, but it was a start. Captain called out. Long-range sensors are picking up multiple FTL signatures, incoming ships, a lot of them. How many? Asked, though he already knew the answer would be bad. 68 warships, reported, her voice tight. It's the Axiom Grand Fleet. They're coming out of FTL at the edge of our solar system. The bridge fell silent. 68 ships against 17. Even with their technological advantage, those were impossible odds. Time until they reach Earth? Asked. 6 hours at their current speed, Sora replied. Activated the fleet-wide comm. All Allied ships, this is Captain Lee of the Defiance. The enemy fleet has arrived in overwhelming numbers. I will not order any of you to fight this battle. You can retreat. No one will think less of you. A voice came back, rough and determined. We came to fight, human. Our children deserve freedom as much as yours. A Tor commander agreed. We stand with Earth to the last ship. The Free Miners simply sent a message that said, Together we rise. Felt his throat tighten. These beings didn't have to be here. They could have stayed safe at home. But they came anyway because humanity had shown them that resistance was possible. Then we fight together, said. All ships battle formation. We're going to meet them between Mars and Jupiter. We use the asteroids as cover. Hit and run tactics. Make them pay for every meter of space. The small fleet moved out, each ship following the Defiance. They accelerated toward the incoming Axiom Armada, David flying to meet Goliath once again. In the Axiom flagship, Supreme Commander watched the primitive fleet approach on his tactical display. He was not War Master. He was not going to underestimate these humans. He had watched the battle recordings 100 times. He understood now what made them dangerous. All ships maintain formation, he ordered. No individual heroics. We advance as one wall of firepower. Concentrate all fire on the human flagship first. Kill it immediately. The two fleets met in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. The Axiom ships came in a perfect formation, shields overlapping, weapons synchronized. It was textbook military doctrine, refined over thousands of years. The human alliance fleet scattered like a school of fish. Each ship went in a different direction, weaving between asteroids, using the rocks as shields and weapons both. "Here they come," said. "Brace for impact." The Axiom fleet fired first. The void filled with plasma fire and missiles. An Allied tour ship took a direct hit and exploded. Two mining vessels were crippled, but the humans and their allies were already moving, already adapting. "Fire at will," ordered. "Target their heavy cruisers." The Defiance's weapons spoke, and across the fleet, 16 other ships added their fire. Tungsten rods crossed the void at impossible speeds. Axiom shields flickered and failed. Ships began to die. But there were so many of them. For every enemy ship destroyed, 3 more took its place. The Axiom fleet pressed forward with mechanical precision. Led her fighter squadron through a gap in the enemy formation. All wings, focus fire on that battleship. Hit the engines. 20 human fighters swarmed around an Axiom battleship like angry insects. They were too small, too fast for the big guns to track. Missiles slammed into the battleship's engine core. The massive ship went dark and began to drift. "Good kill," Sora called from the Defiance. "Swing around and help the ship. They're taking heavy fire." The battle became a storm of violence. Ships exploded. Weapons fired. People died. The asteroid belt became a graveyard of metal and blood. Watched the tactical display and made split-second decisions. Angle us toward that cluster of destroyers. Prepare a spread of quantum torpedoes. "Yes, sir." The Defiance dove toward 3 Axiom destroyers. They turned to focus fire on the human ship, exactly as wanted. At the last second, he ordered a hard turn. The Defiance spun away, and the quantum torpedoes it had launched continued forward. The torpedoes appeared inside the destroyer's shield envelopes. All 3 ships exploded simultaneously. "We're losing," said quietly. She was watching the casualty reports. 5 Allied ships were destroyed. Another 3 were badly damaged. The Axiom fleet had lost 20 ships, but they still had nearly 50 operational. "We're not losing," replied. "We're teaching them fear." He was right. In the Axiom flagship, Supreme Commander was experiencing something he had never felt before in 300 years of service. Doubt. His fleet was superior in every way, yet these primitives were making them bleed. "Sir, the humans are repositioning," his tactical officer reported. "They're falling back toward Jupiter." "Pursue them," ordered. "Don't let them escape." It was a trap. Had been drawing the Axiom fleet deeper into the asteroid belt, further from their supply lines, closer to Jupiter's massive gravity well. Now he sprang the trap. "All ships execute Plan Phoenix," he broadcast. The Allied fleet suddenly reversed course. They came screaming out of the asteroid field directly at the Axiom fleet. At the same time, 3 dozen concealed weapons platforms that the free miners had hidden in the asteroids activated and opened fire from behind the enemy. The Axiom fleet was caught in a crossfire. Ships collided trying to avoid incoming fire. Formation broke down. Chaos spread. Now shouted, "Hit them with everything." The Defiance fired its main quantum mass driver at point-blank range into the nearest Axiom capital ship. The enemy vessel was torn in half by the internal explosion. Debris from the destroyed ship damaged 2 others nearby. All across the battlefield, Allied ships pressed their advantage. They rammed a crippled Axiom cruiser, sacrificing themselves to take out a bigger target. Tor ships fought in pairs, covering each other's weaknesses. The tide was turning. The Axiom fleet began to break. Individual ships tried to flee. Some made it to FTL speeds. Others were caught and destroyed. Supreme Commander stared at his screens in disbelief. He had brought the Grand Fleet, the pride of the Axiom Empire, and he was losing. All ships retreat, he finally ordered. Fall back, regroup at the outer system. The surviving Axiom ships turned and ran. The human alliance didn't pursue. They couldn't. They were too damaged, too exhausted. Slumped in his chair, status report. 9 Allied ships destroyed, said quietly. Every surviving ship has damage. We're down to 40% combat effectiveness. And the enemy? 37 Axiom ships destroyed. The rest retreated, but they'll be back. Did the math. They had won again, but barely. And next time the Axiom would bring even more ships. Eventually, the numbers would overwhelm them. Unless they changed the equation entirely. Open a channel to Earth, said. We need to talk to the Admiral. We can't win this war through military force alone. We need something else. What? Asked. Looked at the tactical display showing the vast expanse of the galaxy. Out there were thousands of oppressed species, billions of beings living under council tyranny. We need a revolution, he said. The message went out across the galaxy on every frequency, in every language, broadcast from 1,000 relay stations. It was simple and direct. People of the galaxy, this is Captain Lee of Earth. You have seen us fight. You have seen us win. We are not special. We are not superhuman. We simply refuse to accept slavery. If we can stand against the Council, so can you. We offer you technology, training, and alliance. We offer you a choice. Join us or remain on your knees. The decision is yours. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, 50 species declared independence from the Council. Within days, that number reached 200. Rebellions broke out on worlds that had been peaceful for centuries. The galaxy was waking up. In the Council chambers on the capital world of Axis Prime, the ruling members gathered in emergency session. The chamber was in chaos. Representatives shouted at each other in a dozen languages. The humans must be destroyed, demanded the Axiom representative, slamming his fist on the table. They have infected the entire galaxy with their poison. We tried destroying them, a quieter voice said. It was the counselor, an old being who had served on the council for 300 years. We sent fleets. They destroyed them. We sent more fleets. They destroyed those too. Perhaps destruction is not the answer. Then what do you suggest? The Axiom representative snarled. That we negotiate with primitives. I suggest we recognize reality, the replied. The old order is finished. The question is whether we adapt or die with it. The council chamber erupted in argument once more, but that was right, and deep down they all knew it. The galaxy had changed. There was no going back. On Earth, stood with Admiral in the repair docks watching new ships under construction. The Defiance was being repaired again, but now it had company. 5 more human destroyers were being built, each one incorporating lessons learned from the battles. The Council has formally requested a meeting, Admiral said. They want to negotiate a treaty. After trying to exterminate us, asked. They're afraid. 200 species have joined our alliance. The Free People's Coalition, they're calling it. That's 1/3 of the galaxy. The Council can't fight everyone at once. Thought about it, they could keep fighting. Eventually, they would probably win. But how many would die in the process? How many ships destroyed? How many worlds burned? Set up the meeting, he said. But on our terms. Neutral location. Equal representation. No more of this primitive species nonsense. The negotiations took place on a small moon that belonged to neither side. The Council sent 20 representatives. The Free People's Coalition sent 20 as well, including admiral and representatives from the Tor and other allied species. The Axiom representative tried to maintain his arrogance. The Council is willing to grant Earth and its allies limited autonomy, he began. No, interrupted. We're not asking for your permission. We're here to discuss the terms of galactic peace. You dare, the Axiom began. I dare plenty, said calmly. Let me explain your situation. You have lost military superiority. We have quantum reactor technology that surpasses your antimatter systems. We have weapons that ignore your shields. We have allies across the galaxy. If this becomes total war, you will lose. Not eventually, not maybe. You will lose. The council representatives looked at each other. The counselor nodded slightly. Continue, he said. Pulled up a holographic document. Here are our terms. First, the classification system ends. No more Class 7, Class 4, any of it. All species are equal. Second, the council becomes an actual council, not a dictatorship. Every member species gets an equal vote. Third, there will be no more protected species. No more exploitation. No more tribute. Fourth, technology is shared freely. No more hoarding knowledge. Impossible, the Axiom representative said. The galaxy would fall into chaos. The galaxy is already in chaos, Admiral replied. You created it by trying to control everything. We're offering a better way. And if we refuse, asked a council member. Leaned forward. Then the Free People's Coalition will expand without you. We'll build our own galactic organization based on equality and cooperation. Species will choose to join us instead of you. Eventually, you'll be the ones asking to join our alliance. The question is whether you want to be part of the solution or get left behind. The negotiations lasted 3 weeks. The council representatives argued, delayed, made demands. But slowly, they realized they had no choice. The old empire was crumbling. Either they adapted or became irrelevant. Finally, the counselor stood. We accept your terms, he said quietly. The council will be reformed. All species will have equal representation. We will work together to build a new galactic community. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't everything wanted, but it was a beginning. 6 months later, the first session of the reformed Galactic Council took place. 2,000 species sent representatives. The chamber was massive, filled with beings of every size, shape, and color. When walked in wearing his Earth Defense Force uniform, beings from hundreds of worlds stood and applauded. He gave a short speech. We didn't fight for glory. We didn't fight for territory. We fought for the simple idea that all beings deserve freedom. Today we make that idea real. Today we build a galaxy where tyranny has no place. The applause lasted for 10 minutes. Later returned to the Defiance. The ship had been fully repaired and upgraded. It gleamed in the light of the space station, a symbol of humanity's achievement. But it was no longer unique. Dozens of ships with quantum reactors now filled the docks. Human ships, Tor ships, all working together. Found him in the observation deck. We did it, she said quietly. We actually changed the galaxy. We proved it could be done, corrected. Now comes the hard part, making it last. What's next for the Defiance? Asked. Pulled up a star chart. It showed the outer rim, the wild regions beyond council control. There are still species out there that need help. Pirates, slavers, warlords who didn't get the message. Sara is plotting a course to the system. They requested help with a regional conflict. More fighting, sighed. Peacekeeping said, there's a difference. We're not conquering, we're protecting. The next day, the Defiance left dock with a crew of 800 volunteers from 20 different species. Humans worked alongside engineers. Tor soldiers trained with human marines. It was messy and complicated and beautiful. As the ship accelerated toward the outer rim, sat in the captain's chair and looked at his mixed crew. They came from different worlds, spoke different languages, had different cultures, but they were united by a common belief. Freedom was worth fighting for. Peace was worth working for. And no one, no matter how powerful, had the right to rule over others. "Captain," Sora said from navigation, "we're ready to jump to FTL." "Take us out," ordered. The Defiance's quantum reactor hummed with power. Space twisted around the ship, and in a flash of light, Earth's first star destroyer leaped across the stars. Behind them, the galaxy they left was different from the one they found. The Council existed but served rather than ruled. Species cooperated as equals. Technology was shared. Knowledge was free. It wasn't perfect. There were still conflicts, still problems, still beings who chose tyranny over freedom. But now there was an alternative. Now there was hope. And leading that hope was a ship built by stubborn humans who refused to accept their assigned place in the universe. A ship that proved the impossible was only impossible until someone did it. Across the galaxy, on 1,000 worlds, children learned about the day Earth said no. About the battle where one ship faced 15 and won. About the revolution that changed everything. They learned that size doesn't matter. That power isn't always right. That courage and ingenuity can overcome superior force. They learned that freedom isn't given, it's taken. And they learned the phrase that had spread from Earth to every corner of the galaxy, translated into every language, adopted by every species that chose to stand rather than kneel. "We are free people, we do not kneel." In the captain's quarters of the Defiance, wrote in his personal log, "Today we jump to help mediate a conflict. Tomorrow, who knows? The galaxy is vast and there's so much work to be done. But I look at my crew, humans and aliens working side by side, and I know we'll figure it out. We always do." He paused, then added one final line. "My father once told me that the measure of a person is not how they act when things are easy, but how they stand when everything is against them. I think the same is true for species. For civilizations, we were tested and we stood. We fought when we could have run. We shared when we could have hoarded. We united when we could have divided. That's what makes us human. And now, that's what makes us galactic citizens." He saved the log entry and looked out the viewport at the stars streaming past. Somewhere out there, another species might be facing the same choice Earth had faced. Submit or resist, kneel or stand. When they made their choice, the Defiance would be there to help them, because that's what free people did. They helped others become free. The ship sailed on through the darkness, carrying its crew of dreamers and fighters toward whatever came next. Earth's first star destroyer, symbol of a revolution, guardian of the new order, proof that the galaxy belonged to those brave enough to claim their place in it. And in its wake, 1,000 species followed, each one learning to stand a little taller, to speak a little louder, to believe a little more in the possibility of freedom. The age of tyranny was ending. The age of cooperation was beginning. And it all started with one ship, one crew, and one simple word. Commander Ho stood at the observation window of Sentinel's Gate, watching the stars disappear one by one. They weren't actually disappearing. The ships were blocking them out. 300 alien vessels surrounded his station, each one the size of a city block. His own station had exactly 12 defense guns left working and 200 crew members who should have evacuated hours ago. "Commander, Admiral Wu is on the secure channel," Lieutenant One said from her station. The young woman's voice was steady, but Ho could see her hands shaking slightly as she worked the controls. Ho walked to the communication console and pressed the accept button. The Admiral's face appeared on the screen, looking tired and old. "Ho, you need to leave now. That's an order." "The civilian transports are still launching from New, sir," Ho replied calmly. "They need more time." "You can't give them time if you're dead," the Admiral said. "You're outnumbered 50 to 1. This isn't a battle you can win." "I'm not trying to win, sir. I'm trying to buy time." Ho glanced at the tactical display showing hundreds of red dots surrounding his single blue marker. Every minute we hold them here is another 1,000 civilians who make it to the jump point. The admiral was quiet for a moment, then he sighed. How long can you hold? As long as they need us to. Ho straightened his uniform. Sentinel's gate will not fall quietly, sir. Admiral Wu's expression softened. Good luck, Commander, make them remember you. The screen went dark. One turned in her chair. Sir, I've been running the numbers. They are positioning their heavy ships on an intercept course. They're not just here to destroy the station. They're planning to chase the civilian ships. Ho felt cold anger settle in his chest. They didn't just conquer worlds, they hunted. They enjoyed it. How many transports are still on the surface? 42 ships, carrying approximately 2 million people, one answered. They'll need at least 4 more hours to evacuate and reach safe jump distance. Then we hold for 4 hours. Ho activated the station-wide intercom. All hands, this is Commander Ho. I won't lie to you. We're not walking away from this. But 2 million people down on Nu are depending on us. Their families, children, people who can't fight. We're all that stands between them and those monsters out there. He paused, looking around the command deck at the faces of his crew. Young and old, scared and determined, all of them had chosen to stay. 4 hours, that's all we need to give them. 4 hours and those people get to live. 4 hours and we save 2 million lives. I can't promise you'll survive, but I can promise that what we do here today will matter. Sentinel's gate holds the line. Are you with me? The response came from every station, every deck, every corner of the facility. Sir, yes, sir. Jin's voice crackled over the engineering channel. Commander, I'm rerouting all power to weapons and shields. We'll have life support and artificial gravity, but that's it. Everything else goes to keeping us fighting. Do it, Ho ordered. He turned to one. What's our best tactical option? The young lieutenant pulled up a battle plan on the main screen. They expect us to defend passively. Instead, we go aggressive. Focus all fire on their command ships. Make them think we're trying to break through their lines. They'll commit forces to stop us, which means they can't chase the transports. Ho studied the plan and nodded. It might actually work, or at least keep them busy. He looked at his tactical officer. You have a gift for this one. I wish I'd had more time to teach you. You've taught me enough, sir, one said quietly. Protect those who can't protect themselves, no matter the cost. The fleet began to move. The massive glided forward like sharks circling prey. Ho could see their organic hulls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. They were a hive mind, every ship connected to their queen. They fought with perfect coordination, no hesitation, no mercy. They're charging weapons, one reported. 30 seconds to firing range. Target their lead command ship, Ho ordered. All weapons. The moment they're in range, we fire everything we have. The crew worked frantically at their stations. Ho watched the countdown timer tick down. 20 seconds, 15, 10. Fire, Ho shouted. Sentinel's gate erupted with weapons fire. Missiles streaked through space, followed by energy beams and rounds. The command ship's shields flared bright green as the attack hit. For a moment, Ho thought they might actually penetrate the shields. Then the returned fire. The station shook violently as alien weapons hammered their shields. Lights flickered on the command deck. Alarms blared from a dozen stations. Shields at 60%, someone called out. Keep firing. Ho gripped the railing as another impact rocked the station. 1. Cycle targets. Don't let them predict our attacks. For the next 3 hours, Sentinel's Gate fought like a cornered animal. The small human station danced between the massive alien ships, striking and retreating, drawing fire and attention away from the planet below. Jin worked miracles in engineering, keeping weapons online when they should have failed. One's tactical brilliance kept them alive far longer than anyone predicted. But there were simply too many enemies. One by one, the station's weapons were destroyed. Hull breaches appeared on multiple decks. The crew fought fires and sealed bulkheads, struggling to keep the station functional. "Sir, the last transport just jumped," one reported, her face bloody from a console explosion. "They all made it." Ho felt a wave of relief wash over him. "We did it. We actually did it." "Commander, massive energy spike," the sensor officer shouted. "The Queen's ship is here." A vessel 10 times larger than any other ship appeared on the sensors. It was ancient and terrifying, covered in armor from 1,000 battles. "She's deploying her elite guard," one whispered. "Sir, we can't fight those." Ho looked at the image of the Queen's ship and knew one was right. They had fought beyond all expectation, but this was the end. "All remaining crew, fall back to the command deck. We make our final stand here." He pulled an old photograph from his pocket, Earth, blue and beautiful, taken from orbit. He'd carried it for 20 years, through every battle, every mission. "For those who can't fight back," he whispered, tucking it away. The elite warriors came like a wave of death. They were twice the size of regular, armored in organic plates harder than steel. The human crew fought with everything they had: rifles, pistols, knives, bare hands. They sold their lives dearly. Ho fought at the front, his pistol barking until it ran dry, then switching to a rifle taken from a fallen warrior. One stayed at his side until a blade caught her across the ribs. She fell, and Jin dragged her to cover. Finally, there were too many. A warrior's claw caught Ho across the chest, sending him crashing to the floor. His weapon skittered away. He tried to stand, but his body wouldn't respond. Blood pooled beneath him. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was the swarming over the command deck, their victory complete. Then nothing. The battle for Sentinel's Gate lasted 4 hours and 17 minutes. Historians would later call it the miracle of Nu, but for those who lived through it, there was nothing miraculous about watching good people die. Jin crouched in the engineering bay, her hands moving across the control panels even as explosions shook the station around her. Every time a weapon system failed, she rerouted power from somewhere else. Life support from the lower decks, gravity from the cargo bays. She stripped the station bare, feeding everything into the guns that kept them alive for just 1 more minute. "Engineering, I need the port rail cannon back online." Ho's voice came through her headset. "Working on it, Commander," Jin replied, her fingers dancing across the controls. The power grid was a mess of red warning lights and failing systems. She bypassed 3 safety protocols and dumped power from the medical bay into the weapon. "Port rail cannon online. But sir, we're running out of things I can strip power from." "Just keep us fighting, Jin. That's all I ask." A explosion rocked the engineering deck. Jin was thrown against a bulkhead, her shoulder hitting hard enough to make her gasp. She scrambled back to her console and saw the damage report. Hull breach on Deck 7. Weapons Platform 3 destroyed. Shield generators at 20% and falling. They were dying. Slowly, inevitably, the station was dying. On the command deck, one watched the tactical display with growing desperation. She had studied warfare her entire adult life, trained at the best military academy in human space, but nothing had prepared her for this. They didn't make mistakes. They didn't have communication delays or conflicting orders. The hive mind coordinated every ship perfectly, adapting to every strategy she tried. "Commander, they're flanking us on 3 sides," she reported. "I'm trying to create an opening, but they're closing every gap." Ho stood at the center of the command deck, his uniform torn and bloodied but his voice still steady. "Then we don't look for gaps, we make them, target their formation and ram our way through." "Sir, our engines can't take that kind of stress." "They don't need to last long." Ho looked at her with tired but determined eyes. "Just long enough." One felt her throat tighten. She wanted to argue to find a better way, but there was no better way. There was only survival measured in minutes. "Yes, sir," plotting ramming course. The station shuddered as the main engines fired at full power. Sentinel's Gate charged directly at a cluster of ships, weapons blazing. The aliens scattered, creating exactly the opening one needed. For 3 precious minutes they were out of position, forced to regroup. 3 more minutes for the transports to escape. But they learned fast. They began targeting the station's engines, recognizing the threat. A series of precise strikes hit the engine room. Jin screamed into her headset as fire erupted around her. Engine 3 is gone. 4 is failing. I'm trying to contain the damage. Evacuate engineering, Ho ordered. Not yet, Jin shouted back. She could see the power conduits overloading. If they exploded, they'd take out the entire aft section. She grabbed a fire suppression tool and attacked the flames, her lungs burning from the smoke. Around her, her engineering team fought alongside her, refusing to abandon their posts. Then she saw it, a plasma conduit about to rupture. If it blew, it would kill everyone in engineering. Jin made a choice. She grabbed the emergency cutoff and pulled it. The lights in engineering went dark. The engines died, but her people lived. Engines offline, she reported quietly. I'm sorry, Commander. You kept us alive this long, Ho replied. That's more than anyone could ask. Without engines, the station couldn't maneuver. It became a stationary target. They swarmed it like insects on a corpse, firing from every angle. Weapons platforms exploded one after another. The shield generators finally failed completely, and the weapons began tearing into the hull itself. On the command deck, one pulled up the evacuation status. Sir, the last transport just jumped to hyperspace. All 2 million civilians are safe. Ho closed his eyes for a moment, allowing himself one instant of relief. They had done it. Against impossible odds, they had saved them all. Good. Tell the crew. Let them know it mattered. He activated the station-wide intercom one final time. All hands, this is Commander Ho. The civilians are safe. Every single one of them. You did that. Remember that when the end comes. You are heroes, every one of you. They pressed their attack with renewed fury. They had realized the humans had accomplished their mission, and now they wanted blood. The massive Queen's ship moved closer, and from its hangar bays came the elite warriors. They were different from the regular soldiers. Bigger, faster, covered in armor that shrugged off human bullets. They're boarding us, the security chief reported. Multiple breach points across all decks. All remaining personnel fall back to the command deck, Ho ordered. We hold here. The crew came in small groups, some carrying wounded, others dragging themselves on broken legs. Jin arrived with 3 of her engineers. They were burned and bleeding but still alive. One counted heads, 47 people out of 200. That was all that remained. They set up barricades using overturned consoles and sealed blast doors. Every person who could hold a weapon took one. Ho distributed the last of the ammunition. It wasn't much, but it would have to be enough. The elite came like nightmares made flesh. They cut through the blast doors with organic acid, then poured into the corridor leading to the command deck. The humans opened fire, and the sound was deafening in the enclosed space. The first wave fell, but the second wave came over their bodies. Then a third wave, a fourth. They just kept coming. Ho fought at the barricade, his rifle bucking against his shoulder. Beside him, one fired with mechanical precision, each shot finding a target. But for every they killed, 2 more appeared. A warrior broke through the barricade. Ho smashed it with his rifle, then drew his sidearm and put 3 rounds into its head. Another came from the side. He kicked it back and shot it before it could recover. Reloading, one shouted. A use that moment to strike, its blade flashing toward her. Ho threw himself between them, taking the hit meant for his officer. The blade cut deep across his chest, but his return shot killed the alien. Commander, one caught him as he staggered. Keep fighting, Ho gasped, pushing her toward cover. Blood soaked his uniform, but he raised his weapon again. Don't stop. The battle became a desperate melee. Guns ran dry, and the crew fought with knives, tools, anything they could grab. Jin wielded a heavy wrench, cracking skulls with grim determination. Others used their bare hands when they had nothing else. But there were simply too many enemies. One by one, the defenders fell. Ho watched his people die, each death cutting him deeper than any physical wound. These were good people, brave people. They deserved better than this. A massive warrior, larger than any Ho had seen, charged through the shattered barricade. It moved with terrifying speed, its claws gleaming. Ho tried to bring his weapon up, but his body was too slow, too damaged. The creature's claw caught him across the chest, tearing through armor and flesh alike. Ho hit the deck hard. His weapon clattered away out of reach. He tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't respond. Blood pooled around him, warm and slick. He could hear one screaming his name, hear Jin still fighting somewhere nearby. The warriors swarmed over him, their clicking mandibles celebrating victory. Ho's vision blurred. He thought of Earth, of the photograph in his pocket. He thought of the 2 million people who would live because of what happened here today. It was worth it, he thought as darkness closed in. Worth every second. Then there was nothing but black silence. The warriors stood over their conquered prey, mandibles clicking in their version of laughter. The command deck of Sentinel's Gate was painted with blood and burn marks. Sparks fell from damaged ceiling panels. Emergency lights cast everything in a red glow that made the scene look even more like a slaughterhouse. Jin knelt beside one, pressing her hands against the younger woman's wound. Blood seeped between her fingers no matter how hard she pushed. "Stay with me," Jin whispered. "Don't you dare die on me." One's eyes were unfocused, her breathing shallow. "Did they make it, the transports?" "Every single one," Jin said, her voice breaking. "We won, we actually won." A strange sound filled the air. At first, Jin thought it was the station's damaged systems failing. Then she realized it was coming from all across the station, throughout their entire fleet, the aliens were making a sound. It started as a low vibration that Jin could feel in her bones, then rose to a shrieking chorus that made her teeth ache. They were celebrating. The massive blast doors to the command deck groaned open. Through the smoke and debris, something enormous entered. The regular warriors, already twice the size of a human, seemed small next to this newcomer. It stood nearly 12 feet tall, its carapace covered in scars from countless battles. Bioluminescent patterns pulsed across its armor in complex sequences. Queen Mind had arrived. The queen moved with unsettling grace for something so large. Her multiple eyes swept across the command deck, taking in the dead and the dying. When she spoke, it wasn't with a voice. The words appeared directly in the minds of every human present, cold and ancient. "You fought well, prey things, better than most species do when faced with the swarm." Jin felt the words like ice water in her skull. She wanted to spit defiance at the creature, but she was too tired, too hurt, too focused on keeping one alive. The Queen Mind approached Ho's motionless body. She studied him with the detached interest of a scientist examining an interesting specimen. "This one led you. I tasted his determination in the battle, so much will to survive, so much love for his herd." She tilted her head. "It made him predictable. Love always does." 4 warriors grabbed the surviving humans and forced them to their knees. 47 had made it to the command deck. Now only 23 remained alive. Jin was pulled away from one, who collapsed onto the deck with a pained gasp. "You will witness," the Queen Mind commanded. "You will see what becomes of those who resist the swarm. Then you will carry the message to your people. Resistance is futile. Resistance only brings suffering." A massive holographic display activated above the command deck. Jin recognized it as the station's long-range communication system, but the HAD modified it. Now it showed hundreds of connected ships, thousands of warriors, all linked to their queen's mind. "Observe," said, and the display changed. It showed star systems, dozens of them. Planets that had once been home to civilizations were now barren husks, stripped of all life. Cities lay in ruins. The Queen Mind's voice echoed in their heads as she showed them world after world she had conquered. 47 systems have fallen to the swarm, trillions of beings consumed, their knowledge absorbed, their worlds claimed. You humans are simply the next harvest. Jin watched in horror as the display showed a fleet heading toward the core human systems, toward Earth itself. They had been holding back, she realized. This station, this battle, had been nothing but a test to see what humans were capable of. And now that the test was done, the real invasion would begin. Your species is weak, the Queen Mind continued, circling Ho's body like a shark. You fight with individual minds unable to coordinate as the swarm does. You hesitate, you doubt, you let emotions cloud your judgment. She gestured to the dead around them. You waste resources protecting those who cannot fight. Inefficient, foolish. The celebration sounds from the grew louder. Jin could hear it echoing through the entire station now, thousands of voices raised in triumph. The Queen Mind was broadcasting to her entire empire, showing them the defeated humans as proof of supremacy. I will give your people one mercy, said her mental voice almost gentle. I will make your deaths educational. When we consume this one's brain, we will learn all of humanity's tactics, all their strategies, all their secrets. She reached toward Ho's head with a clawed hand. The swarm will know everything he knows, and we will use it to hunt down every last human in the galaxy. It was a tradition. After a battle, the Queen consumed the memories of worthy opponents. It was considered an honor in their culture, a way of preserving the defeated enemy. But to humans, the idea of their commander's mind being violated, his memories picked through and used against his own people, was a horror beyond words. No, one gasped from where she lay on the deck. Please don't. The Queen Mind ignored her. Her hand moved closer to Ho's head, preparing to inject the organic probes that would extract his memories. The hunt is over, prey things. Your alpha has fallen. Your pack is broken. There is no hope left for humanity. Around the command deck, the elite warriors clicked their mandibles in agreement. Through the holographic display, Jin could see the same celebration happening across the entire fleet. Ships pulsed with bioluminescent patterns of victory. Warriors performed ritual movements of triumph. They had won. Completely and totally they had won. Jin closed her eyes, unable to watch what came next. She heard one sobbing quietly. She heard the other survivors breathing heavily, some praying, others simply waiting for the end. The Queen Mind's voice filled their heads one more time. Witness the end of human resistance. Witness the futility of your struggle. Witness and despair. Her clawed hand touched Ho's forehead. And then Ho's eyes opened. They weren't brown anymore. They glowed with an unnatural silver light that cut through the red emergency lighting like twin stars. The Queen Mind jerked her hand back as if burned. Jin's eyes snapped open. She watched in shock as Ho's body began to move. The wounds that had been killing him, the deep cuts across his chest and arms, began to close, not healing naturally but sealing shut as if invisible hands were stitching him back together. Steam rose from his skin. Impossible, the Queen Mind's mental voice held a note Jin had never heard from before. Fear. Ho sat up slowly. His movements were different now, more precise, more controlled. He rolled his shoulders as if testing a new body, and Jin heard the sound of metal sliding against metal beneath his skin. When he spoke, his voice carried strange harmonics that shouldn't have been possible from a human throat. Protocol Reaper, activated. The celebrating sounds from the fleet died away, replaced by confused clicking and chirping. The Queen Mind took a step backward, her massive form suddenly seeming smaller. Ho stood, and the warriors who had been standing over him scrambled away. His eyes, still glowing that eerie silver, swept across the command deck. When his gaze fell on Jin and One, there was a flicker of something human there. Recognition. Concern. Then he looked at the Queen Mind, and his expression became something else entirely. Something cold. Something ancient. Something utterly terrifying. You wanted to know our secrets, Ho said, his voice resonating with power. You wanted to see what humans become when you push us past our limits, when you take everything from us, when you hurt our people, kill our families, threaten our children. He reached up and removed his commander's insignia from his torn uniform, dropping it to the deck. The gesture was like removing a mask, revealing something that had been hiding beneath all along. Allow me to demonstrate. Ho's skin began to change. What had been flesh took on a metallic sheen, like liquid silver spreading across his body. His wounds weren't just healing, they were transforming. The torn tissue knitted together stronger than before, reinforced with something that looked organic but moved like machinery. Jin stared in disbelief. She had served with Ho for 5 years, trusted him with her life countless times, but she had never known this secret, never suspected that the quiet, kind commander who remembered everyone's birthday and always asked about their families was something else entirely. The Queen Mind's mental voice boomed across the command deck, but for the first time there was uncertainty in it. What are you? 200 years ago, humanity found something, Ho said, and his voice carried the weight of those centuries. Deep in unexplored space, we discovered a dead ship, the architects they were called, a civilization that ended itself in war. They left behind many things, weapons, technologies, warnings. He took a step forward. The warriors raised their weapons, but none of them fired. They could sense something was wrong. Their hive mind was screaming danger at them. The architects built the ultimate soldier, Ho continued. Colonies that could turn a single person into a living weapon, something that could fight entire armies and win. They called it Project Reaper, the technology that ended their civilization because they couldn't control it, couldn't stop it once it was unleashed. His eyes, still glowing silver, swept across the. Humanity found this technology and made a choice. We locked it away, declared it too dangerous to ever use, too inhuman, too terrible. He clenched his fist and the sound of metal on metal echoed through the deck. But we also knew that someday, somewhere, we might face an enemy that left us no choice, an enemy that threatened our extinction. Impossible, the Queen Mind said. We monitored your species, we saw no such weapons. That was the point. Ho's skin was completely transformed now, his body covered in a silvery substance that flowed like water but was harder than any armor. 7 volunteers, 7 people who agreed to have these in their bodies, dormant, waiting. 7 last resort weapons to be activated only if humanity faced total annihilation. He looked at Jin and won. His expression softened for just a moment. I'm sorry you had to see this. I never wanted you to know what I really am. Commander, Jin whispered, are you still you? Ho was quiet for a long moment. I don't know, they are waking up, they're changing me. I can feel myself becoming something else, something that was designed for one purpose only. He turned back to the Queen Mind. To kill. The transformation accelerated. His muscles expanded, his bones reinforced themselves with metallic compounds. His nervous system was rewired for faster reactions. His senses enhanced to superhuman levels. The flooded through his bloodstream, turning him from a dying man into something that resembled a god of war. The Queen Mind sent a mental command to her warriors. Destroy it now. 20 elite charged at once. They were fast, deadly, each one capable of tearing through a squad of human soldiers, but Ho was faster. He moved like lightning given form. The first warrior never even saw the strike that killed it. Ho's hand, now edged with metallic blades, went through its armor like paper. He spun, and 2 more warriors fell, their bodies cut cleanly in half. A fourth tried to strike him from behind. He caught its blade with his bare hand, crushed it, then used his free hand to tear the creature's head from its body. It wasn't a fight, it was a slaughter. Jin had seen many battles. She had watched humans fight with courage and skill against overwhelming odds, but this was different. This was like watching a natural disaster given purpose and direction. Ho moved through the warriors like a scythe through wheat, each movement precise and economical. No wasted motion, no hesitation, pure efficiency. In less than 30 seconds, all 20 elite warriors lay dead. The Queen Mind backed away, her confidence shattered. What have you done to yourselves? What monsters have you become? We didn't want to be monsters, Ho said, advancing on her step by step. We tried diplomacy first. We offered peace, trade, cooperation. But you don't understand peace, do you? You only understand predator and prey, hunter and hunted. He gestured to the bodies around them. So we made a choice. We chose our monsters. We created 7 weapons designed for one purpose, to protect humanity from extinction. 7 reapers who would do what needed to be done, no matter how terrible. 7 people who would sacrifice their humanity so everyone else could keep theirs. More poured into the command deck. Dozens of them, all elite warriors. They attacked from every direction, trying to overwhelm him through sheer numbers. But numbers didn't matter anymore. Ho became a blur of motion. His hands moved faster than Jin could track, each strike killing. The metallic substance that covered his body could shift and change, forming blades when he needed to cut, hardening into armor when he needed to block. The in his system predicted enemy movements, enhanced his reflexes, turned him into something that couldn't be defeated by conventional means. One managed to prop herself up against a console, watching with wide eyes. This is impossible. One person can't fight like that. He's not a person anymore, Jin said quietly. Or maybe he's more than a person now, I don't know. They kept coming and Ho kept killing them. The command deck became a graveyard of alien bodies. The Queen Mind watched her warriors fall with growing horror. Through her hive mind, she could feel their deaths, feel their fear, feel the realization spreading through her entire fleet. They had awakened something terrible. You celebrated over our bodies, Ho said, his voice cutting through the sounds of battle. You hunted our children. You destroyed our worlds. You thought humans were weak because we value individual lives, because we protect those who can't fight. He caught a warrior mid-strike and crushed its skull with his bare hand. You were wrong. The Queen Mind sent out a desperate mental command. More warriors came, flooding through every entrance to the command deck. But it didn't matter. Ho moved through them like death incarnate. Jin watched her commander, her friend, become something out of nightmares. Part of her was terrified. But another part, the part that had watched him make the choice to stay and fight, that had heard him order the evacuation knowing it meant his death, that part understood. This was the price. This was what it cost to save 2 million lives. Ho had known all along, known that if things got bad enough, this is what he would become, and he had chosen to do it anyway. Protocol Reaper, Jin whispered, understanding now. You were always the last resort. On the holographic display, something changed. 6 new signals appeared across the galaxy. 6 more points of light, each one pulsing with the same silver glow as Ho's eyes. One saw it too. Commander, there are more. 6 more signals just like yours. They're activating across human space. Ho paused in his killing just for a moment and glanced at the display. A grim smile crossed his metallic features. The other Reapers, they're waking up. He looked at the Queen Mind. You thought I was alone. You thought this station was all that stood against you. He advanced on the massive alien, and for the first time in her long life, the Queen Mind knew true fear. You were wrong about everything. Wrong about humans being weak. Wrong about us being easy prey. Wrong about this being a simple harvest. The Queen Mind turned to flee, but Ho was already there, blocking her path. Where are you going? You wanted to hunt us. You wanted to see what humans are capable of when pushed to the edge of extinction. His silver eyes blazed brighter. Now you get to find out. The Queen Mind had lived for 3,000 years. She had consumed the memories of 10,000 opponents. She had conquered 47 star systems and ended the existence of species that had thrived for millions of years. She was ancient, powerful, and until this moment had never known what it meant to be prey. She tried to run. Her massive body, designed for commanding from the safety of her flagship, wasn't built for speed. Ho caught her before she made it 3 steps. His hand, now more blade than flesh, pierced through her armored carapace and found the nerve cluster that controlled her movement. She crashed to the deck, paralyzed. "Please," the Queen Mind's mental voice begged. It was strange hearing such a powerful being reduced to pleading. "Please, we can negotiate. We can withdraw from human space. We can leave your species alone." Ho knelt beside her, his silver eyes staring into her many black ones. "You had your chance for negotiation. We offered peace. We sent ambassadors. We tried to show you that we could coexist." His voice was cold, empty of emotion. "You killed them. You broadcast their deaths as entertainment for your swarm. You laughed." Through the holographic display, Jin could see chaos spreading across the fleet. Without the Queen's direct control, the warriors were confused. The hive mind that had made them so effective was fracturing. Ships began drifting out of formation. Warriors stopped mid-attack, uncertain what to do. "You don't understand," the Queen Mind said desperately. "The swarm is everything. We are one mind across billions of bodies. If you kill me, the entire collective will collapse into chaos. Trillions will die." "I know," Ho said simply. "I'm counting on it." He stood and turned to address the surviving humans on the command deck. 23 people, bloody and broken, but still alive. "Close your eyes. You don't need to see this." Jin understood. She pulled one close, covering the younger woman's eyes. Most of the other survivors looked away, but Jin kept her eyes open. Someone needed to witness what was about to happen. Someone needed to remember the cost. Ho turned back to the Queen Mind. "You wanted to know humanity's secrets. You wanted to consume our knowledge, use it against us. Here's the truth you never understood. Humans don't fight for territory. We don't fight for resources. We fight for each other, for the person next to us, for the families waiting at home, for the children who should never have to see war." His hand transformed into a blade that glowed with silver light. "You made us choose between our humanity and our survival, so we chose both. We created weapons terrible enough to ensure our survival, then gave them human hearts so they would never forget what they're protecting." The Queen Mind tried to speak, to beg, to bargain, but Ho was already moving. His blade came down, and the ancient creature's mental voice cut off mid-scream. Across the galaxy, the swarm felt their queen die. 3,000 years of accumulated knowledge, power, and memory vanished in an instant. The hive mind, which had connected billions of individuals into a single consciousness, shattered like glass. On the holographic display, Jin watched the fleet fall apart. Ships collided with each other. Warriors stopped functioning, their minds unable to cope with sudden individuality after lifetimes as part of the collective. What had been a perfectly coordinated war machine became a chaotic mess of confused, frightened creatures. "It's over," one whispered. "We won." But Ho didn't celebrate. He stood over the Queen's body, his silver form slowly beginning to fade back to something more human. They were receding now that the threat was neutralized, but Jin could see they hadn't gone completely. His skin still held a faint metallic sheen. His eyes, while no longer glowing, remained that eerie silver color. He walked to where his crew sat and knelt down. "Is everyone okay?" Jin almost laughed. After everything that had just happened, after transforming into a living weapon and slaughtering hundreds of enemies, he was asking if they were okay. It was so perfectly Ho that she felt tears sting her eyes. "We're alive, sir," she managed to say, "thanks to you." Ho looked at his hands. They looked almost normal now, but he could feel the still active beneath his skin, ready to transform him again if needed. I'm sorry you had to see me like that." One reached out and touched his arm. Even through her pain, she smiled. "You saved us, Commander. You saved everyone. Don't apologize for that." Emergency lights flickered as the station systems began emergency repairs. The surviving crew worked to stabilize life support and communications. Within an hour, they had re-established contact with the human fleet. Admiral Wu's face appeared on the screen, and his eyes widened when he saw Ho. "Commander, we're receiving reports that the fleet has collapsed into civil war. Entire sectors are going dark. What happened?" "The Queen Mind is dead, sir," Ho reported. "Protocol Reaper was activated." The Admiral's face went pale. He had been one of the few people who knew about the Reapers, had helped select the volunteers decades ago. "All 7. "Yes, sir, we're all active now." On the holographic display, Jin could see the 7 silver signals spread across human space. Each one marked a Reaper who had awakened to defend humanity. Each one represented someone who had given up their humanity to save it. Over the next few days, reports came in from across the galaxy. The swarm was tearing itself apart. Without the Queen's guiding intelligence, the individual warriors couldn't function as a collective. Some tried to establish new queens, leading to civil wars. Others simply shut down, their minds unable to cope with independence. The species that had threatened to consume the galaxy was destroying itself from within. 1 month later, Ho stood in a military briefing room on Earth. Around the table sat 6 other people, all of them with the same silver eyes. These were the Reapers. Each one had their own story, their own reason for volunteering. But they all shared the same burden now. There was Haewon, a former combat medic who had activated on a colony world, saving 10,000 people from a harvesting operation. Young, a pilot who had turned his ship into a weapon and taken down an entire battle group. Minna, Bo-Ram, and me, 7 people who had become living weapons. Admiral Wu entered the room and sat at the head of the table. "The threat is neutralized. The swarm has fractured into thousands of competing factions. None of them pose a coordinated threat anymore." He paused. "Which brings us to the question of what happens to you 7. "You're going to deactivate us," Young said. "It wasn't a question." "That was the plan," the Admiral admitted. "The Reaper Protocol was designed as a one-time defense. Now that the threat is over, we could put you all into stasis, try to return you to normal lives." "But," Haewon prompted. "But you can't remove them completely," the Admiral said. "They have integrated too deeply. They're part of you now. We could suppress them, make them dormant again, but you'd never be fully human again." Ho had expected this. He had felt in his system, felt how they had changed him on a fundamental level. Even now, with them dormant, he could feel their presence. He was faster than he should be, stronger. His senses were sharper. He was more than human and less than human at the same time. "There's another option," the Admiral continued. "The galaxy is a dangerous place. They aren't the only threat out there. We could use people like you, guardians, protectors, weapons to be deployed only when absolutely necessary." "You want us to stay active," Minna said. "I want to give you a choice," the Admiral corrected. "You've already sacrificed more than anyone should have to. If you want to walk away, try to live normal lives, we'll support that. But if you're willing to continue serving, humanity needs its Reapers." Ho looked around the table at the other 6. They were strangers, but he understood them in a way no one else could. They had all made the same choice. They had all become monsters so humanity wouldn't have to. "We became weapons to protect those who couldn't protect themselves," Ho said slowly. "That hasn't changed. They are gone, but there will be other threats, other predators looking at humanity as easy prey." He met the Admiral's eyes. "As long as there are people who need protecting, the Reapers will be there." One by one, the other 6 nodded in agreement. The Admiral stood and saluted them. "Then humanity thanks you for your service, all of you." After the meeting, Ho returned to his quarters. He had received word that Jin and One had both survived their injuries and were recovering well. The crew of Sentinel's Gate were being hailed as heroes. 2 million civilians had sent messages of gratitude. Ho looked at himself in the mirror. His reflection showed a man in his 40s with silver eyes and a faint metallic sheen to his skin. He looked almost human. Almost. He thought about the photograph of Earth he carried, now stained with his blood from the battle. He thought about the choice he had made all those years ago when he volunteered for the Reaper program. He thought about what he had become. Worth it, he whispered to his reflection. Somewhere out in the galaxy, word was spreading. The story of Sentinel's Gate, the tale of how they celebrated their victory only to have death itself rise up and destroy them. Species across the stars learned a new truth about humanity. Humans had protectors, guardians who walked the line between human and weapon, 7 Reapers who stood watch in the darkness, ready to rise when their people needed them most. And humanity's enemies learned to fear the moment when they thought they had won, because that's when the Reapers rose, that's when the masks came off, that's when they discovered what humans become when pushed to the edge. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. The prey had revealed itself to be the apex predator, and the hunt was over. Defiance.